Welcome to Cultural Fluency Makers. I'm your host, David Wellish. Each week, we welcome leaders to share how they stay ahead of the ever-changing consumer landscape. With today's cultural transformation, top brands need to understand diverse consumer segments from Gen Z, Hispanic, and LGBTQ+, to gamers, wine enthusiasts, and basketball fanatics in Iowa. Their marketing strategies require them to keep the pulse on their consumers, but also their brand in the category to continue to grow revenue for the long term. Cultural Fluency Makers is sponsored by Collage Group, the only cultural intelligence engine that provides brand and consumer insights on the why that drives consumer behavior and purchase decisions. Let's get started. Hi, everybody. I am so excited for this episode and so look forward to a dynamic and insightful dialogue. With me today is a true leader in the world of marketing and consumer insights, with a wealth of experience in media analytics and consumer research. He has been instrumental in shaping data-driven strategies that connect with millions of consumers. His innovative approach to understanding the why behind the buy has earned him widespread recognition, and we are super excited to delve into his insights on the future of consumer engagement, the power of data storytelling, and how iconic brands continue to evolve in this fast-paced, digital, complex world of ours. He currently serves as the head of consumer insights, sparking brands at PepsiCo. Kevin Moeller, welcome to the show. It's great to have you.
Hey, thanks for having me. This is awesome. That was summer intro. I'm very pleased with the intro. So as far as I'm concerned, we can end it now. That's great.
We're good. All right. So, Kevin, given the demographic changes that this country has gone through in the last 10, 15 years, the role of diverse consumer growth, the polarization, the fragmentation, what role do you see for cultural intelligence in what you do? The role of cultural insights in what you do?
Yeah. So, I think while the country has shifted, demographics have shifted, socioeconomic statuses have changed over time. At the same time, we've been going through like a insane data revolution. I've been in the industry almost 25 years, and it doesn't really look the same as when I started. Demographically, we are much more diverse. I have a 10-year-old son who has grown up in a world that doesn't really look like my childhood. And I think brands, companies, consumer marketing organizations need to recognize that and ensure that not only are they prepared for the future, but they're resonating with consumers on an everyday basis. I think that's the role that consumer insights plays, frankly, is connecting those dots, ensuring that consumer marketing companies are on the pulse of what's going on in the world, in our country, how to connect with brands at a variety of different levels, across different cohorts. Like, we're a huge company with, we want everyone to drink our beverages and eat our snacks. And at the same time, we have pockets of cohorts that we do better than, and some we don't do as good with. And I think understanding that cultural nuance, whether it's demographically, socioeconomically, ethnically, is super important to ensure that you're generating not only products and brands that connect with consumers, but then when you take it into the marketplace, the comms resonate, the communication style, the communication strategy resonates with consumers. That's really how you start to build brand love, build share of wallet, build share of stomach. From an insight standpoint, I think, we really try to help drive strategy, finding those little nuggets of tension in the consumer's mind or in their life that brands can potentially play a role or solve. What are the barriers in their lives? What are the barriers in their specific category that we play in? Why are they not engaging with certain brands and engaging with other brands? Finding those little nuggets are the beginnings of brand strategy. When you have a very solid brand strategy, and you can see your true north, it makes it a lot easier. It makes the product development, it makes the comms, it makes the programming and commercial plans all that much easier, because you have a true north in which you're trying to guide towards.
Kevin, so eloquently said. Thank you. I love this sort of brand love as one North Star. If we accomplish brand love, so many good things happen. After that. And you talked about cultural nuance, which I like. Cultural nuance. We talk about cultural intelligence. Collage as a cultural intelligence company. I'm curious, how like why do you think cultural nuance is important?
Um, I mean, without that, you can just paint everyone with the same color, and that often doesn't work. What's resonate? I mean, think about you as an individual, let alone other different demographics, other cohorts. You as an individual, what resonates with you in a particular moment may be different depending on what hat you have on. When you have your collage hat on, your mindset, your attitudes, your beliefs may look a certain way. When you're at home or with your family or with your friends, your outlook may be very different. So understanding those nuances at an individual level and then pulling that back out into cohorts, which is essentially how different groups can be related to one another and defined by uh, certain defining characteristics. Like that's how you get into what really matters to consumers, so that your brands can play a significant role in their life, and you're not just screaming at them. You're actually having the conversation, and you're relevant to what they're looking for.
So if I'm paraphrasing it, it's sort of getting deep with consumers, getting to the depth that drives them as human beings. And if you deeply understand that, then brands can do their magic.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, that's a good way to put it. And if I were to translate that into my world from a capability standpoint, from a research and data standpoint, like we look at all different types of data to help us uncover insights. We look at quantitative, qualitative, fast data, thick data, um, starting to get into synthetic data, AI data, like all of those different capabilities are starting to really add up into a clearer view of who our consumers are, what they're looking for, what's going to resonate with them, and how best to engage them to join our family of companies.
So it would seem that getting to the cultural nuance is a prerequisite to brand love. What's hard? Like, what is challenging about that?
I think cutting through the noise, understanding, like if I think about culture holistically, I have to parse through the noise. What is, and in this day and age, there's a lot of noise out there.
Every day. I mean, literally every day.
Oof, every day, about 3 a.m. Cutting through the noise to understand what's actually happening. Is something a sticky trend? Is it a fad? Is it something that's popping up today and gone tomorrow? Um, are there open nuggets of white space that will just get bigger and bigger opportunities for brands? Like I think of innovation, and I think of our innovation pipeline. Our At PepsiCo, our research and development team is one of the finest in the world, and you give them a brief on creating a product that satisfies a consumer need, they will create that. Like they are phenomenal. Um, but that's only as good as the brief that they're given, and that brief is um, informed by data. So we have to make sure that whatever data we're using to analyze what's happening today, what happened yesterday is what's happening yesterday, still what's happening today, what's going to happen tomorrow, what's going to happen next week, and how consumers' mindsets are shifting, their consumer purchase patterns are shifting. And so I think that, to get back to your question, like understanding the true um, the true role of data and how predictable that might be, is super important.
And it seems the true trend. What's a lasting trend versus a fad? I'm assuming, is super important. And then understanding the why. So many. Um, I've been privileged to. We work with about 300 brands or so. I don't know, 12 different categories. So we're in many conversations, and on the food and bev side, you get these trends like all of a sudden out of nowhere protein, right? Like it's exploding, and the question is, well, why, right? Like what? First, is it permanent? Is it a fad? Why, and why now? And what and what's taking place? And so it's fascinating.
So that's a good example. And when I protein is something that's super important to our organization. But when I give examples like that, I often use turmeric. Turmeric is the hot spice out.
Yes,
So what are you going to do with turmeric? And everybody wants to get involved with turmeric. Understanding whether that's a sticky trend or something that is hot with influencers and then gone the next day or the next year, those type of that type of clarity is what I think I'm getting at what the difficult part is that turmeric, whatever your turmeric might be, is that something that's going to be around? Is it something that's just popping up on social and is going to be replaced with something else, next week? That's the hard part.
that's the hard. It's interesting. We at Collage, we start with the human. So like, what's driving people, right? Like first and foremost. And so you first go, well, you know, uh, health, well-being, right? Like how important is that? Because that's where it begins. And then you get like to expressions, and that linkage, I think, helps us to understand what's more permanent versus not. But to your point, yes, distinguishing is such a hard thing and such a big deal.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, thanks for that's a great
And
example.
as someone who doesn't cook, I have to say, I've never used turmeric.
You know what? I'm gonna think of you when I go downstairs to the fridge and grab my turmeric shot. And I just think that I'm gonna be so much healthier because of it. So what I was saying is that I'm honored to spend a bunch of time with CMOs, heads of insights, and we talk about this notion of cultural relevance. And I always ask this question, which is, well, how important is it, you think, to be culturally relevant in today's America to win hearts and minds of consumers, which everybody wants to do? And um, and everybody goes, oh my gosh, it's like it's essential, it's core, it's at the center. So here's my tricky question for you, Kevin. At Collage, we call it cultural fluency, and we think that you know, consumer organizations need to be culturally fluent, and that's the use of cultural intelligence to really deeply engage consumers across all segments, both efficiently and effectively. That's the way but we can use it interchangeably. How do you define cultural relevance, and then how does one become one?
Yeah. Uh, so the definition, I think you're kind of spot on. I do think that there's probably a spectrum, a pendulum of how people could possibly define what it means to be culturally fluent. Um, when I think about our marketers, our insights teams, what we do to ensure that we understand our consumers better than anyone else, it's really putting ourselves in their shoes. And Stefan Gaines is our global head of insights. And I think his mantra is to ensure that human centricity, consumer centricity flows through the entire organization. A lot of that does start with the insights teams, but it is part and parcel of our entire organization. And one of the things that we're very bullish on is ensuring that we act like our consumers, that we put ourselves in our consumer shoes. So that could be as simple as going to the store and shopping as if you're one of our key cohorts. And if I think about Gen Z, young millennial, or I think of low income consumers, or I think of um, families with children, putting yourself in that mindset of what it must be like to go shopping as a Gen Z just getting off the ground into their career, and how when they enter the store or they go online to purchase their groceries, like what's in their mindset, understanding how they tick, how they shop, what they're looking for in brands, um, how they engage with media. Like obviously that's super important for the up and coming generation. But essentially experiencing life like me, shop like me, surf the web like me, um, experience the totality of life through someone else's eyes, through in someone else's shoes, is a really good way, or at least a start, to ensure that um, that you have the empathy that's needed to develop those insights. And really, empathy is what this game is about: understanding what makes someone tick, why they believe a certain belief, why they shop a certain way, getting really deep into who they are as people, is beyond anything that any data can offer. It's really about the empathy.
And so, cultural relevance, you would say, is that deep understanding of your consumer.
Yeah.
And then the how you become one, I guess, start from there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what I was talking about, is how you start to become empathetic towards your consumer, and your key cohorts, ensuring that you understand what makes them tick. Um, if something is uh, trending online, on social media, whatever platform, understanding why it is. What's the rationale behind it? What is there any rationale behind it? Is it just an algorithm driven trend? But really, truly getting at the heart of what makes consumers tick, I think, is the beginnings of understanding them, which then in turn helps you understand the broader picture of their world, which is essentially their culture.
Great. So, Kevin, we have just been speaking about understanding the why behind consumer purchases for uh, such massive brands under the PepsiCo umbrella. Can you walk us through an example of how you've used data to uncover a either compelling or surprising consumer insight, and how that insight has been translated into a tangible marketing strategy or implementation?
Yeah, one of the brands that I have the privilege to work on is Mountain Dew. Um, Mountain Dew was the energy brand of the 80s and 90s, before the energy category really existed. And part of that is how Mountain Dew showed up in TV spots and digital campaigns, and our look and feel, what the brand logo looked like. Um, and one of the things that we found through consumer research, we did a ton of empathy work. We did a ton of qualitative, quantitative, memory elicitation sessions with a fantastic company called Triggers, led by Les Zane. Um, was that Mountain Dew was showing up in a way that was a little polarizing for some consumers. And one of the goals of the brand was really to expand household penetration, to grow the brand. You can't just grow the brand with a key cohort, which we have some of the best fans ever in Mountain Dew, in Dew Nation. But we really had high aspirations for this brand to grow phenomenally. And one of the ways to do that was to be more appealing to broader audiences. So in uncovering some of this research, we found that there were barriers that consumers had to purchase Mountain, and a lot of that stemmed from how we showed up. And so we've made a pivot. Just released this spring is our new visual identity, which harkens back to really the roots of Mountain Dew. This is an 80-year-old brand. It has heritage well beyond the 80s and 90s that consumers may not know about. And so we did a ton of research. We have the best design team in the world that helped us or developed the new visual identity for Mountain Dew, which really brings in the historical nature, the heritage of Mountain Dew. So it brings in the mountain. We brought back the word mountain. Um, we had at one point shortened it to MTN Dew because we were positioning it more as this energy drink with sharp edges and um, uh, connoting very aggressive and pointed visuals. We've rounded out what the brand looks like. We've added the word mountain back into it. We have added a literal mountain and streams and bringing back this nature because Mountain Dew, if nothing else, is the most refreshing citrus drink on the marketplace. And what we want from consumers is to enjoy that refreshing beverage and go out and experience life, go out and do. And I think without that consumer research, we wouldn't necessarily have gotten to the same place that we were from a visual identity standpoint. And beyond that, all of uh, our campaigns over the last 2 years, last 18 months, have been reflective of this shift. It's really about enjoying nature, enjoying the world, whatever your passions are, LFG and get outside. And I don't think that was how we were showing up in the past. And so I think, that's an example of how a really robust data set helped us transform not only the visual identity and all of our comms, but really what the strategy and mantra is for a brand.
That is so tangible.
I gotta say, it was tons of fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's so great, and it's I tell our team, uncovering the kernels of insight. Because you only need two or three like real kernels that then are the secret of campaigns for years to come. So that's really neat. You've been at the helm of analytics for again, such great brands in a rapidly evolving digital landscape, Kevin. How do you balance leveraging new media platforms and data sources to reach the more complex younger audiences while still maintaining the core identity and loyalty of such established brands? How do you guys balance it?
Yeah, we kind of started the conversation with that, but I think um, the industry, whether you're talking about media specifically or marketing in general, or pull it back and talk about consumer data. Like we are going through a transformation where we're not all the way there. I don't know that we totally know what will look like when we're on the other side of it. But I think every CPG, every marketer has made attempts to change with the times. And that's really about embracing new technology, embracing new data sets, ensuring that data is more and more connected than ever before and democratized. I tell my team on insights all the time, if your key stakeholder is not receiving the information that you're trying to put out there, it's useless. And I think the same holds for data. You can have uh, data sets that are extremely powerful, but if they're not accessible, either through user interfaces or connectivity to other big data sets or thick data sets, um, they're not really living to their full potential. And so I think ensuring uh, that companies embrace that transformation and really lean into it. It's not just about saying that you're a consumer insights organization. It's really about investing in the tools, the technology, and the people. The skill sets are different now than they were even 10 years ago of what it takes to be a good marketer, what it takes to be a good insights uh, professional.
Which is great. It transitions us to the last question, Kevin. We're talking about data, and I say in the world of AI, data is king or queen. Um, but it's really it's the crux of the revolution. What is your view? As gosh, we there's no day that we don't read about the impact of AI. I'm sure you guys are deep in it. What is it transforming for you guys in the insights world? How is it evolving? How is it being used? Any thoughts would be super welcome.
Uh, no, no. I mean, I never heard of AI. It's we never get questions about that. I think, yeah. Listen, I'm certainly not an AI expert, but I would say I am extremely curious to where we land. I think it's going to be quite a journey, and um, where we internally have started to leverage it is really across across the board. I think it touches every aspect of our business. But if I were to speak specifically about insights, um, the lowest hanging fruit is really the efficiency. Um, like understanding how we can use video ethnographies or IDIs and then leverage AI to summarize um, commonalities in what we're hearing from consumers. What are the trends? What are the red thread that we can find in understanding shop-alongs, understanding how people go to the store using different technology uh, to understand eye tracking, um, putting those things, those results into action, I think is what it makes the technology useful. Um, to use AI for the sake of saying, "Yeah, we have a program that uses AI," like that's I don't think that's useful or helpful. It's not going to progress the journey, and so I think leaning in, learning more, um, understanding how you can get the most out of the capabilities as they develop, and be curious about what capabilities are out there. Like there are um, new technologies, new tools that are coming up all the time. Keeping your finger on the pulse of them as an insights professional, super, super important.
That's great. Well, we've been on that journey, and we've seen part of that transformation because we are sitting on proprietary cultural data. AI makes it so much more discoverable, and the actionability really lifts up. I mean, it's an exciting time. I think for anybody who's sitting on proprietary data. So, Kevin, thank you for that and for your wisdom and experience that comes through loud and clear. A couple of questions more personally. What what motivates you? What inspires you?
Um, I think being curious is one of the strengths that I have. Um, Not resting on my laurels, ensuring that I am changing, like kind of what I was mentioning in terms of the data and technology revolution, how brands and CPG companies and marketers need to embrace the change. I think um, that's one thing that I'm super curious about is ensuring that I am knowledgeable and staying on the forefront of all these new technologies, all the new capabilities that are out there, and having a perspective on them. I think, that's what makes a good leader is not just accepting what comes to you, but questioning it, uh, pressure testing it, ensuring that it has meaningful, actionable change to business decisions. Um, I think that's super, super important.
Thank you. If you, Kevin, if you could travel back in time and give your young 20-year-old self advice, what would that be?
Um, Absolutely. I mean, it sounds repetitive, but it's absolutely to embrace the change. Speaking for myself personally, and I think many in the business world, the first response is too often, whoa, 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 this is different. And I think if I were to go back and talk to myself at 20 years old or when I first was starting in the industry it would be to embrace the change, because it's never going to stop. There's always going to be new technology. There's always going to be new data. There's always going to be new capabilities. And if you want to stay relevant in the business world, in the insights world, or in the media world, you have to embrace those changes, not be scared of it. Find out how to leverage it for your own benefit, for your company's benefit, for the business's benefit. And I think that's something I've really tried to embrace over the last couple of years, that maybe I didn't have that perspective a decade or two ago.
That's great. As you were speaking, you were taking me back to I was thinking of all the big disruptions. I spent about 8 years at AOL. Do you remember the dial-up?
Sure do.
Yeah, the dial-up volume. So many, so many disruptions. I remember in the company where we were asking ourselves, will advertisers advertise behind user-generated content called social media? We're like, will that take off? Yeah, I love that change, and it is a mindset. It really is a mindset. Great. And then the last question, Kevin, what do you do for fun outside of work?
So I have a 10-year-old son, or he'll be 10 tomorrow, and I think that takes up a lot of my time. We love grabbing a Mountain Dew, going hiking, spending some time outside, and really just ensuring that we're participating in life as much as we can.
Well, Kevin, first, huge gratitude to you. Thank you for spending your time with me today and our audience. Happy birthday to your son. Enjoy tomorrow. And again, thank you very, very much.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
This has been another exciting episode of Cultural Fluency Makers. See you next time. That's a wrap on another episode of Cultural Fluency Makers. Thank you for joining us. Please share your comments and what you would like to hear more about. Be as specific as possible. For show notes and more, please visit culturalfluencymakers.com. This show is proudly sponsored by Collage Group, unleashing the power of cultural intelligence to fuel brand growth. Please follow Collage Group on LinkedIn, and we will see you next week.